Hey everybody, this is Way to Fail, and it's time for some more Let's Spectate Scrolls. Today we have a game between Orwald and Tyler, or Tyre _. And this is going to be a ranked match between energy and growth. And right away you see Tyre living the growth dream, putting out a Rat King, putting out a Ragged Wolf, having a bunch of stuff on the board early. Of course, Orwald, does he have a response? He has a hired smuggler right now, who could be in a lot of trouble, and Tyre playing around the Thunder Surge, which he's not going to see for a few more turns, but spacing out his units already. Orwald having plenty of cards available to him. Spark's a good answer. Not the best answer in the world for something like a Ragged Wolf, but still it'll deny damage. Power Trip's going to be good for later. Bombard doesn't really do him a lot of good, so Spark's the play that he's got, not too much else. Tyre, on the other hand, Ancestral Totem combos so beautifully with these rats, but at this point, what else can he play? Is he going to clear his hand? Is he going to play the Ancestral Totem, or is he just going to keep the totem down? Nope. There's the totem, and that totem has 2 health, and unfortunately for Tyre, Orwald's going to see that totem and say, hey, you know, I have a second Spark in my hand. It's time to Spark. Is that what's going to happen here, though? We have the Spark, we have the fear of all of the units that are about to attack, but keep in mind, this is growth. They're kind of squishy. And growth, at least historically, has a pretty sizable advantage against energy because of the overwhelming creature spam that it can put down. But Tyre, getting another Rat King, I mean, what's one better than 2? Actually, multiple Rat Kings are not fantastic against energy, specifically because of Thunder Surge. A Sister of the Fox is a little better, but right now, the way Tyre set up the board, he's really playing hard against Thunder Surge. And he doesn't quite need to yet because there's not 6 energy available. So he has a bunch of little things on the board. He could potentially play Sister of the Fox because, you know, let's put more creatures on the board. But Orwald, seeing a lot of little units, a Stormrunner's good. Stormrunner Bombard is a decent play that he can't do, and I don't mean that in the same turn, but at least against this kind of board setup, he may be able to get some creatures down. So Tyre trying to play against a lot of AoE. There's the Stormrunner. And if Tyre draws a rally or something, it could be worthwhile, but probably not the best bet at this point. Orwald 1 away from the dreaded Thunder Surge, so I'm not sure if Tyre's going to be playing a Sister of the Fox. No, instead he gets the Crimson Bull, which, keep in mind, new update, it costs 3 growth, which my opinion of that is meh, still playable. Probably a good change. Not a growth-breaking change by any stretch of the imagination, but now he has 5 resources. Does he want to Brother of the Wolf or Rat King again? Immortal questions. If he Rat Kings, there's not a lot he can do to avoid having a bunch of creatures killed, so Brother of the Wolf probably the way to go. But Tyre taking his time, thinking about his turn, and he's going to Brother of the Wolf, and he's going to Brother of the Wolf in a way that his creatures are not going to be Thunder Surge, so he's playing really hard against Thunder Surge. And what does Orwald have to do here? In fact, Orwald has Bombard. I think this is where some people were watching somebody's streams like, oh my god, you're stream sniping or something. But I don't know. Bombard at least takes out a few creatures, and he can ensure his survival if he moves to the middle here. Well, he can ensure survival probably if there's no Crimson Bull in Tyre's hand by moving his Stormrunner in one direction or the other. So there's Bombard. Not fantastic because that is 1 card to take out 2 little rats. But Tyre does have the Crimson Bull, so that is a good place to avoid getting killed. And there's your Breaker. Breaker is an interesting card, at least from my experience. I find it dies really easily. Usually before it can get a lot of, I guess value is the right word for it. But right now, Tyre definitely having some board control, definitely playing really hard around Thunder Surge. I guess he's gotten burnt by Thunder Surge 1 too many times in the past. Orwald, on the other hand, dropping the Power Trip. Power Trip giving more resources here, and there's a burn. He can play another Stormrunner, he can play a Canonetta. He can do all kinds of things and make his hopes and dreams come true. There's a second Stormrunner. No Bombard to follow it up with. That one Stormrunner is just there to protect the other Stormrunner. And what does Tyre have at this point? He has a Quake. That would hurt him way more. He has a Crimson Bull. And he can't actually take out both Stormrunners right now. So maybe better just to drop the Brother of the Wolf. Or not Brother of the Wolf, the Great Wolf. How am I confusing these cards? I used to play Growth. I still play Growth. So there's the Great Wolf. And he's actually putting in a place where it could get Thunder Surged. Interesting. But also, let's see here. Orwald could move up to put some damage on that Great Wolf. But is Orwald going to risk it? That's the question. He does get a Violent Dispersal, which is a nice draw to get rid of something. But, I mean, what do you do at this point? You got to choose. Do you take out the bigger creatures? Do you go ahead and try an Iron Whip? A tiny creature, probably a terrible idea. He has Machinated as well, but there's not too much use for it yet, mainly because the targets are not presenting itself. But Machinated, good card. He could actually move it up here, Machinate, and get rid of the Brother of the Wolf and have this guy be really beefy. Problem is that he could potentially die next turn. So instead, he's electing to put some damage here, takes out the Great Wolf. And Tyre right now has a lot of Crimson Bulls, which helps him out. He doesn't need two. And there's some Mangy Wolf just a turn after. He probably would really like to have that with the Great Wolf. But what can you do? Tyre getting out the Kinfolk Brave. Now a little bit braver against Thunder Surge here with the way he's placing his units. Because there's only so many you can get. But once again, plinky idle damage. There's Orwald. And he's got to start doing something, because this is the point where growth, if you get around turn 10, turn 15, and they take control of the board, it takes a lot of work to rest it back, and by that point there may be too much idle damage. So let's see here. Is there a good Bombard play for Tyre? There's a Cannonetta, and he's got the Bombard as well. There we go. That is going to be the start of a comeback right there. At least some direct damage here. The Breaker's still there, but all the immediate threats for next turn are gone. Except for, of course, our little Wolfie, who could get Crimson Bull to take out the Cannonetta. Not the best trade in the world, not the worst. Could also put down an Ancient Totem just to try and get that damage buff back up. Last one got sparked. But he's just going to go ahead and try and cycle through his cards. Gets another Great Wolf. And it looks like he's just going to elect to put the damage on that he can put on at this point. Oh, there's the Crimson Bull, actually. He is going to take out the Cannonetta, try and really control the tempo of the game. Try and have more creatures on the board at all times. Let the Breaker or the Sister do its thing next turn. But here we go, Tyre. You're going to see why I don't like Breakers much, because it's an easy burn target. There's a Thunder Surge. And the nice thing about burn is that it still draws a card, so there is a nice sort of turn of events for Orwald. Tyre trying to take some board control, and Orwald over two turns working his way back into this very methodically, as energy tends to do. So Tyre's got a response here. He has two Quakes. Holding on to the double Quake is kind of like saying, hi, I play Growth, let's join the club. I've been there, I've done that. People have spilled all kinds of pixels saying the benefits and deficiencies of Quake, whether you should play it with it, or against it, or on it, or off it. But right now, Tyre does have an interesting place. He could play the Ancestral Totem, which he does. He could have played the Sister of the Owl or the Kinfolk Veteran, but it looks like, once again, he's just really terrified of Thunder Surge, and maybe he should be, because Orwald has two of them. But at some point you gotta say, my lower health units just need to make way for my bigger hitters here. Because Growth does have some pretty good big hitters. And right now Orwald can pick and choose what does he want to take out. I guess it's gonna be the, is it gonna be, yeah, he can not take out the Sister, he can take out the Ancestral Totem. Pretty easy target to pick right there. So Tom to Forge as well. Unless he rally Crimson Bulls or something, this guy's not dying to the Sister of the Fox. So there we go, kablooey. Down goes the Ancestral Totem. Orwald maybe thinking the double Quake and just sagging back at this point. That would be the Growth player's standard MO. Just let Orwald build his board as much as possible and see if he can come back. 3 Quakes at this point. That just seems like winning the Growth lottery right there. You get Quake, you get God Hand, and then you just roll around in the wins, is what I've read on the forums. So, Orwald, what you got? Now a Bombard, now an Iron Whip. And once again, he can take control of the board. He doesn't have to work really too hard to get everything down. But you know, Orwald's got to be a little worried about the Quake that could maybe be coming, maybe not be coming. Because this is mid-game Growth. That's really kind of Growth's play at this point, as we have a dog whining in the background, because that's what dogs do. A Power Trip, good for surging a bunch of resources out there. And Gravelock Elder's a good card against Quake, because at least it survives a few turns. And it does benefit from Bombard. You could Machinate it. But right now, Tyre's early board damage is over. Orwald's going to have to do something to get back in this game. So is it time to take out the Sister of the Fox? Is Orwald actually going to Machinate Storm Runner. That is a decent play once again, especially with Bombards in the deck, as I have a very whiny dog. I may have mentioned this some time in the past before, but this dog's whining because she wants to go out, but she keeps running away from my house. So she's kind of on jail time, where not trusting. So there we go. Yep, there we go. I have a co-caster. It is a dog. That is the level of commentary I'm giving right now, as Orwald clears out more creatures. Tire, this is just blinking the Quake, Quake, Quake. You could almost do Quake Jingle Bells or something, I don't know. But instead he's going to drop the Kinvolk Veteran, nerfed to 3 health. Once again, an easy target to get killed. He's dropping a lot of creatures down. In fact, Tire is showing right now that he does not have Quake in his hand at all. Maybe he's trying to bait Orwald out to get something? I don't know. Orwald could Machinated Iron Whip, but that would really do a lot of good because Tire's placing his units almost perfectly to avoid this. To avoid any kind of Storm Runner play, to avoid any kind of Thunder Surge play. And there we go. Orwald with some interesting decisions. He could drop a Dust Runner. Dust Runner is going to be good against almost everything here, but instead, this Dust Runner today is just going to be a wall here, and there we go. Orwald's taking the bait. He's YOLO dropping all of his units, and if Tire doesn't hit the Quake button very shortly, I'm going to be super surprised. He does get a rally. He might as well just go ahead and try and grab more cards while he can. Unfortunately, that Kinfolk Brave and that that Ragged Wolf are not going to mean a lot if they get quaked, but he has a triple Quake in his hand. Double Quake is going to take out everything but the Gravelock Elder. Triple Quake will clear the board entirely. Once he drops 2 Quakes, Orwald's going to be like, surely he doesn't have another Quake, but maybe it's not Orwald's day right now. So it's a game of Quakes, 2 Rallings, Ancestral Totem. Not the card you really want in this situation. But what do we got here? Just spreading his units around, just trying to do some damage. Drops the Ancestral Totem. Tire is playing pretty greedy right now. Just trying to avoid doing as much as possible. Not dropping these Quakes. In fact, putting units up here where both of those are going to be in Storm Runner range. He could drop the Machinated as well. And is that what Orwald's going to do? He's dropped all of his units. He's dropped his load. You could say, I don't know, Toilet Humor or something. But Orwald having more units. I don't know if this is the point where you say if he had Quake, he would have played it by now. But Orwald's definitely not playing around the Quake at this point, not with spamming all of those units out. However, 1 Quake, and this Ectoman becomes a 3/3, so at least it'll possibly get to do something in the coming turn. There's the Iron Whip, and it looks like Orwald is going to try and do as much damage as he can. In fact, maybe a little bit of a... No, that's fine there, because it's going to take out the Ancestral Totem. Just about to be a board clear for Orwald, and this is gonna get long, I think, guys, because, well, there's Quakes coming, and that's the growth game that I've heard all the kiddos talking about lately on the Reddits and the forums and the places. And what do you do? Just what do you do against it? It comes, and then you gotta have a follow-up. And right now, Tire does not have the follow-up you want from a triple Quake. You want creatures. You want creatures that you can drop out and take the game. Multiple Rallings and Crimson Bulls, not great, and he's actually pumping resources and dropping a Quake. Okay, 1 idle down. I don't know if it's better to go for cards, but at least at this point he has 1 Quake down. Orwald knows probably what's coming. I would not be surprised if he doesn't play a creature this turn. He's just pumping energy, trying to get out an automaton while he can. And he actually gets Top Reaver Thea, which means that Orwald may survive this triple Quake and actually do better for it. So more creatures out, and poor Solemn Giant. It's not going to survive the double Quake. And there's a God Hand a little bit too late. So Rallying Crimson Bull, God Hand, all decent cards, but once again, after the Quake, you want to have a little bit more than that. So Tire, he has 1 creature on the board. I think the only play for him right now is just a Quake again. There's not a lot to think about. He could sacrifice the Crimson Bull just to see what else he gets. He could sacrifice the God Hand, but that's kind of that in the game now please card that you need sometimes. Because keep in mind, that bottom idol is down at 1 health. That means it is within Ragged Wolf range, if he does happen to grab that at some point. And there's a Ragged Wolf. He could Quake Ragged Wolf, take out a second idol. And that looks like that's what he's not going to do. He's going to take out the Elder right there. So he's holding on to that third Quake for dear life, trying to avoid any of that. So there we go. Thea could be a play. 6 health, does survive Quake. Ectoman could be a play. But sacrificing scrolls gets another power trip. Orwald's going to have a ton of energy and not a ton to do with it in a minute if he's not careful. But definitely a good move putting this automaton in front of there. Orwald's got to be hoping for, please don't triple Quake, because that is some fantastic art. You are gigantic, Miss Thea. I'm assuming that's a miss. So, here we go. What is... excuse me, I'm sorry. Tyre finally getting some units after the Quake. Is he going to triple Quake, I guess, is my question. And right now the answer is no. He is actually going to drop units and take out the automaton. That does mean he does protect the Kinfolk veteran, so Tyre holding on to that last Quake as long as possible. And there's a Bombard. Doesn't do a ton of good. He actually has multiple top Reaver Theas, which is interesting, because you can only play one at a time. It's unique. But Orwald could have the better of this Quake play at the end here. He's just going to have to pick and choose what he wants to do here. Unless he kills that Kinfolk veteran, he's going to have to move things down, and this could be Bombard. It is. There we go. So paying multiple energy, he's not going to be able to pump out his unit, but Thea is starting to get out the big gun. I'm not sure if Tyre has a great answer, because once he has that third Quake, I mean, he's got a ways to go with his deck. I mean, it looks like from the icons there he's cycled through once, but I mean, at this point, look at the board. Quake doesn't really win you a lot of games. Now, Quake Frost Scale is not awful, but it kills off your unit too. But I mean, at this point, Sister of the Fox, might as well see what else you can grab. Another Kinfolk Veteran. Kinfolk Veteran can do some work here. Take out the Solemn Giant. There we go. So Tyre at least taking out one of the big threats. Thea's still down there. Thea with that fantastic hair just floating around like crazy. And there's a burn from Orwald. This is what we do. This is what we see in energy games. Just a lot of direct removal. As Orwald, plenty of direct damage at this point, but what he really, really needs right now is to just start clearing the board. And he did put that Storm Runner in Quake range, but that does mean he does take out Tyre's units. Of course, do you want a Quake to take out one card? I think that's a trade. Oh, he gets a second Quake again. And I think that's a trade energy player one if you really want a Quake for just one card. So at this point, Tyre, having plenty to work with, Ragged Wolf as well, going to put some damage on just a little bit, but mainly to try and block that idol from getting killed. Orwald could power trip here. Violent Dispersal, Spark, he doesn't even need a power trip to do that. So it's your Spark's good if he wants to take out the idol. Violent Dispersal, the Great Wolf, pretty obvious there. I mean, he could play the Cannonetta in front of his Thea to protect it, and there we go. I feel a little smarter thinking about that play, and right now he's just taking out the idol because Thea, this is me not being as familiar with the cards, Thea has Piercing. There you go. Energy increased by the next turn when you pillage. So there we go. Thea is just like, nom nom nom, I got you. And what does Tyre do at this point? I mean, if he Quakes, not a lot. He just doesn't have it's just not his day right now. Like I said, this was historically the matchup where growth eats energy. But at least from where Tyre's sitting, it could be double Quake and hope for the best time. So multiple breakers, good to have on the board. Ancestral Totem, very useful for buffing your creatures, but Orwald just has an overwhelming board presence. And 2 piercing units is nasty. Especially, once again, Machinated Cannonetta is still a very, very, very dangerous card. Machinated Stormrunner, very, very, very dangerous card. 2 breakers, so Tyre holding on to those Quakes as long as possible, just trying to hold on to the comeback if he can. And let's see here, Orwald can possibly bombard, maybe not the greatest bombard ever. If he Machinate bombarded, he could take out both breakers, maybe. Let me double check. No, he can't. He can't even reach the breakers with the Storm Runner. That's what I get for being dumb. But he could drop 2 more Storm Runners just for fun. And it looks like that's what he's going to do. Almost inviting the Quake at this point. And saying, come on, just get it over with. So there's a machinated as well. And do we have the bombard coming? It looks like we do. There we go. Another idle down. Complete board clear for Orwald. Alright, so another idle down. Tire, the clock is ticking. And I don't know. You have 2 Quakes. Is that going to be enough? Because at this point, you got to pull something out of your butt here. Because what is playing growth but pulling things out of your butt at this point? I know I get confused about that all the time. So there's your Quake, sacrificing for scrolls. Not a lot of answers at this point, but Orwald's got to know that the double Quake's coming. If he gets a bombard, though, he doesn't win the game, but he gets damn close. Sudden Eruption doesn't do great. Automata Forge is going to survive a Quake at least. So he can move his units up. He can put a Gravelock Elder out. So there we go. Once again, bombard possibly wins the game. Depends on what Orwald has to respond with. Paying multiple energy, Power Trip is such a beautiful card to have right now because it allows for Sudden Eruption to be gargantuan. Of course, you have to rely on the RNG to make that work, and that's not always the best play. But once again, Tyre just quaking for dear life. Oh no, his last tile is going to be down to 3, and the Violent Dispersal doesn't do as much good right now. And there we go, nothing. No, he does not get the auto win at this point. However, he does get a lot more units out, and this is why I said before, Tyre may have quaked 4 times in this game, but it's all about the follow-up. And right now, Tyre didn't have creatures, he had spells. He had God Hand, Crimson Bull, Rallying, not good post-quake cards. Convoke Veteran, Breaker, Rat King, those are good post-quake cards. That's what you want, and there is the surrender from Tyre. Quake cannot save you today, as Orwald increases his fame, fortune, and platinum records, I guess, even more, and takes a hard-fought, well-earned victory. That was quite the slugfest of a game. So I hope you enjoyed it. This is Way to Fail with more scrolls spectating. Like I said, I look forward to doing more of this in the future. I know I still got to work on my card knowledge a little bit from the new resources, but at least hopefully I can highlight for you all some interesting matchups as I see them. But that's it for today. That's all. Hope you enjoyed it. I will see you all next time.